They said goodbye to him years ago, but what if that goodbye wasn't the end? Imagine watching the opening of Heartland, Season 20. Episode 1, and seeing a shadow near the barn, familiar.com, yet hauntingly real. Could it be Ty Borden? Fans are losing their minds, and for good reason. Every small detail in this episode feels like a whisper from the past, a hint that Ty's story might not be over. And if that's true, everything we thought we knew about Heartland is about to change. Ty Borden wasn't just another character. He was the soul of Heartland, the man who carried both pain and peace in his eyes. From the moment he rode into Amy's life, he became more than her love interest. He was a symbol of second chances, of healing, of quiet strength. He helped heal horses, mended hearts, and faced his own demons with honesty. His bond with Amy made millions believe in love that survives storms, distance, and even death. So when Ty's journey came to a heartbreaking end in Season 14, it didn't just feel like a plot twist, it felt like losing family. Yet here we are, 6 seasons later, watching Episode 1 of Season 20, where something feels different. The tone, the camera work, even Amy's silence. It's as if the show is trying to tell us something without saying it. The light that hits her face in the opening scene, the sound of distant footsteps, the way Jack stares out toward the horizon, none of it feels random. These aren't just production choices, they're emotional breadcrumbs, leading us to the possibility that Ty Borden's story isn't finished. When you think back on Ty's legacy, it's impossible to separate him from the land itself. The ranch, the fields, the horses, all of them carry his spirit. The writers have always used nature to speak for Ty. When he was gone, the world of Heartland felt colder, emptier, but now, as Episode 1 unfolds, there's warmth again, subtle but real. You can almost feel his presence in the wind that moves through the trees, in the way Amy pauses when she looks at the barn. It's not grief anymore, it's awareness. It's as if she knows. This is where the theory begins to grow. What if Ty didn't die the way we were told? What if, in true Heartland fashion, his story took a quieter, more mysterious turn? Maybe he survived, maybe he left to protect his family, to find peace before returning home. The idea sounds wild, yet the emotion it stirs in fans is undeniable, because deep down, no one ever truly believed Ty was gone. And in Season 20, Episode 1, the show gives us reasons to start believing again. From the very first frame of Episode 1, something feels different, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in the quiet spaces between moments. The air at Heartland feels heavier, almost like the land itself is holding its breath. Amy walks out to the corral in the early morning, sunlight spilling across the fields, and for a second, she just stands there, still, focused, lost in thought. The camera lingers longer than usual, almost like it wants us to notice something. Her eyes trace the horizon, searching for something unseen. It's subtle, but there's a shift in her presence, less sorrow, more awareness. It's as if she senses something, or someone. Throughout the episode, there are small, carefully placed details that feel too intentional to ignore. When Jack mentions the ranch feeling whole again, Amy smiles softly but doesn't respond. Normally, that line would just sound comforting, but here it lands like a secret. The camera doesn't cut away immediately. Instead, it holds on Amy's face, letting that quiet smile sink in. It's not a smile of acceptance, it's recognition. It's as though she's holding on to something no one else can see. Then comes the moment that has every fan talking, the barn scene. Late in the evening, Amy walks in to check on Spartan. The wind picks up, the light flickers, and there it is, the faint creak of a door. The sound of boots brushing against the wooden floor. Amy turns, her breath catching for a moment. She doesn't speak, but her expression changes, shock mixed with disbelief. There's no one there when the camera pans around, but the energy of that moment feels electric. The show doesn't confirm anything, but it doesn't deny it either. It's one of those perfectly written silences that Heartland is famous for, where the audience fills the space with emotion and memory. Meanwhile, other characters begin to behave differently too. Jack, usually calm and wise, seems distracted. There's a scene where he pauses mid-sentence while talking to Tim, glancing toward the stables as if something caught his eye. Tim notices and asks if he's okay, but Jack just shakes his head and changes the subject. Lou, ever the practical one, spends most of the episode trying to stay busy, but her tone shifts when Ty's name comes up. It's not the raw sadness of loss anymore, it's something gentler, almost guarded. She quickly moves the conversation elsewhere, as though she's avoiding saying too much. Even the animals seem to mirror the change. Spartan, Ty's old horse, reacts strangely during a training scene. Amy leads him across the paddock, but he suddenly stops, ears pricked, staring off toward the tree line. For a moment, Amy follows his gaze. Nothing there, just the wind moving through the trees, but her face softens, like she understands something unspoken. Viewers who have followed Heartland for years know how often the horses act as emotional barometers, sensing things before people do. This time, it feels like Spartan is sensing Ty. The entire episode plays with this quiet rhythm of memory and mystery. The dialogue is careful, restrained, yet heavy with meaning. When Amy sits with Lindy at the kitchen table, she tells her daughter, "Sometimes, love doesn't disappear, it just changes shape." The line lands hard. It sounds like she's talking about healing, but it could also be something deeper, a hint that love can return, even after it's gone. The show has always used emotional dialogue to plant seeds for bigger reveals, and this one feels like a deliberate clue. Visually, the episode leans into this idea too. There are moments when the camera blurs the edges of the frame, like when Amy rides across the open fields. The distant figure of a man appears near the ridge, too far to identify. It lasts only a few seconds before cutting away, but fans paused, rewound, and analyzed that frame countless times. Was it just a ranch hand? Or was it something the writers wanted us to notice, a shape meant to spark hope? By the end of episode 1, it's clear that something is building. Amy stands by the fence at dusk, the sky glowing in soft orange tones, and whispers, "I can feel you." It's short, quiet, but devastatingly powerful. The screen fades before we see her expression, leaving the audience suspended in emotion. Is she speaking to Ty's memory, or to Ty himself? The episode gives no answers, but every beat, every breath feels like the beginning of a revelation. And that's what makes this episode so unforgettable. It doesn't shout its secrets, it whispers them. The pacing, the silence, the looks between characters, they all weave together to create something hauntingly hopeful. By the time the credits roll, one question burns brighter than ever. What if Ty Borden never truly left Heartland? Let's talk about the theory that has set the entire Heartland fandom on fire, the belief that Ty Borden might actually be alive. Now, this isn't just wishful thinking or fanfiction. There are real, meaningful details in Season 20. Episode 1 that suggests something much deeper is happening beneath the surface. For years, Heartland has been known for its emotional honesty and realistic storytelling, so the idea of Ty's survival might sound impossible at first. But when you really watch closely, when you study the tone, the silence, the symbolism, it begins to make sense in a way that only Heartland could pull off. Ty's supposed death was always shrouded in a strange calmness. We never saw the full aftermath in detail. It was told to us through flashbacks and memories. In television, that's often a creative choice, but it can also be a clue. When a character's death happens mostly off-screen, it leaves a door slightly open for mystery. In episode 1 of Season 20, the writers seem to be walking right up to that door again. There's an unspoken tension in every frame, like a story that isn't finished. It feels like they're preparing us for something that will rewrite everything we've believed since Season 14. The first big clue lies in the way the episode handles presence, not physical, but emotional. Every time Ty's name comes up, the camera doesn't linger on sadness anymore. It lingers on silence. And in Heartland, silence is never empty. It's a language of its own. When Amy looks out toward the hills, or when Jack pauses mid-conversation, it's as if they're listening for something. The sound design supports this feeling. Faint echoes, distant hoofbeats, the rustle of wind. They create a ghostly atmosphere, but not one of grief. It's anticipation. Then there's the mysterious figure. Fans caught a brief shot of a man in a dark jacket walking near the edge of the property. Too far to identify, but positioned right after a scene where Amy says, "Sometimes people come back when you least expect it." That's not an accident. The show's editor could have placed that shot anywhere, but they put it there right when our minds are open to possibility. And if Heartland has taught us anything, it's that subtlety speaks louder than shock. Some fans believe Ty may have survived and chosen to stay away for reasons tied to safety or recovery. Remember, Ty had a complicated past. His early life was full of danger, running, and secrets. There's a version of this story where he could have been forced into hiding, protecting his family from something they didn't even know existed. Heartland has always woven emotional truth with realistic pain. And a storyline like that would fit perfectly within its tone, not supernatural, not fantasy, just heartbreak and hope. But what makes this theory truly powerful is Amy's behavior. Her emotional journey in this episode doesn't resemble grief anymore. It feels like waiting. The way she touches Ty's old jacket, The way she pauses before answering when Lindy asks about her dad, there's a softness there, not despair. It's as if she believes, deep down, that he's still out there. Maybe she's felt his presence in those quiet mornings or through the horses they both loved. Maybe she's been holding on to something she can't explain but can't deny either. Even Jack seems to carry a secret. In one scene, he tells Amy, "Sometimes, when you lose someone, the world brings them back in a different way." Jack has always been the emotional compass of Heartland. His words are never casual. They're coded wisdom, and fans have learned to listen. That line, combined with his distant looks and half-finished sentences, feels like foreshadowing the kind that Heartland uses before revealing something big. And then, there's the most poetic possibility that Ty never left Heartland because he couldn't. The land, the horses, and the love he built there are all extensions of his soul. The show has always hinted that connection runs deeper than life or death. So maybe Ty's return isn't physical at all. Maybe it's spiritual, but what if, just what if, it's both? A man reborn through the healing power of family and forgiveness. By the time the credits roll, the theory no longer feels far-fetched. Every look, every line, every shadow carries meaning. The creative team knows the audience's heart is still tied to Ty Borden. And instead of avoiding that grief, they're leaning into it. They're giving fans the one thing they've been afraid to feel again, hope. So yes, maybe it's just a theory. But when it comes to Heartland, theories are how love keeps breathing. And until the truth is revealed, fans will keep watching. Every step, every whisper, and every sunrise over that ranch, believing that somewhere out there, Ty Borden is still riding home. If Heartland has one constant truth, it's that emotions speak louder than words. In Season 20, Episode 1, that truth hits harder than ever. Every member of the Bartlett-Fleming family carries a quiet, restless energy, as if they've all felt a shift but can't put it into words. It's not grief anymore. It's something more fragile, more dangerous. Hope. Amy, as always, stands at the center of it. Her journey has been one of survival, not just from pain but from silence. Losing Ty shattered her, yet she never let that grief turn bitter. Over the seasons, she rebuilt herself piece by piece, memory by memory. But in this episode, something about her feels different. The sadness in her eyes has faded, replaced by a deep calm. It's not the peace of acceptance, it's the stillness of belief. When she looks out across the ranch, there's a spark, like she's expecting someone to ride over the ridge any moment. She doesn't talk about Ty much now, but when his name comes up, she doesn't flinch, she smiles. It's a small, quiet smile, but it says everything. She feels him close. Then there's Jack, the heart of wisdom, the man who has seen too much loss to believe in miracles easily. Yet, even he seems unsettled. There's a scene by the barn where he's mending a fence. The wind blows, and he pauses, looking up toward the old trail. His hands freeze mid-work, his eyes softening in that familiar way they did whenever Ty used to walk up beside him. He doesn't say a word, but that silence is heavy, full of memory, and maybe even recognition. Later, he tells Amy, "You can't hide from what the land is trying to tell you." It's a typical Jack line, wise and cryptic. But this time, it feels aimed at both of them, as if he's urging her to listen to something only the heart can hear. Lou reacts differently. She's practical, grounded in reality, and fiercely protective of Amy and Lindy. Yet, in Episode 1, there's a softness to her tone whenever the past surfaces. She avoids long talks about Ty, but not because it hurts, because it makes her wonder. During one dinner scene, when Amy goes quiet, Lou reaches for her hand and says, "Whatever you're thinking, it's okay." It's one of those subtle moments that fans could easily overlook, but it carries weight. Lou's always been the logical one, the one who keeps everyone together. But here, she's not arguing with Amy's silence. She's accepting it. That says a lot. It means she might feel it too, the strange, unspoken presence of someone they all loved deeply. Tim, on the other hand, tries to ignore it altogether. His way of dealing with pain has always been to outrun it, to stay busy, to stay loud. Yet, his silence in this episode speaks louder than his words ever could. There's a scene where he watches Amy from a distance as she brushes Spartan. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't make a joke. He just stands there, expression unreadable, before walking away. That moment feels raw, real, like a father watching his daughter chase a hope he's afraid to believe in. But later, when Jack brings up Ty's name, Tim's reaction is strange, not angry, not sad, but protective. He says, if she feels something, maybe she's right. For Tim to say that, a man who's always avoided emotional talk, it's huge. It shows that even he senses something stirring. And then there's Lindy, the quiet mirror of both her parents. Children in Heartland have always symbolized truth, the kind that adults forget how to see. Lindy's innocence allows her to feel things more purely. In one scene, she tells Amy, "I dreamed Daddy was home." Amy doesn't correct her. She just pulls her close, tears forming in her eyes. That's not just motherly comfort, that's emotional recognition. Maybe Lindy's dreams aren't just dreams. Maybe, as Heartland has always hinted, love has a way of reaching through the veil of time and distance. Together, these reactions paint a picture that's impossible to ignore. No one in the family says Ty's name often, but his presence fills every scene like sunlight through glass, invisible but undeniable. The ranch feels alive again. Conversations drift, gazes linger, and even the background score has a hint of warmth that wasn't there before. It's as if the entire world of Heartland is preparing for something, not a ghost, not a memory, but a return. This episode doesn't show Ty, but it doesn't need to. His presence moves through every frame like wind through wheat, unseen but powerful. Each character feels it in their own way, and so do we. The show's magic lies in that quiet unity, the sense that family bonds can reach across worlds, that love doesn't die with goodbye, and that sometimes, when the world feels ready, the people we've lost find their way back home. By the end of episode 1, the Bartlett-Fleming family feels closer than they have in years, not because they've moved on, but because they've started to feel again. The air around Heartland hums with the promise of something beautiful and impossible, and deep down, we all know what it is. It's Ty, maybe not yet seen, but felt. And maybe, just maybe, ready to come home. If there's one thing Heartland has always done beautifully, it's turning heartbreak into hope. And now, with the whispers that Ty Borden may still be alive, the stage is set for one of the most powerful storylines the show has ever attempted. The idea alone sends chills through the fandom, not because it would be shocking, but because it would be right. It would complete the circle of love, loss, and healing that has defined the show for nearly 2 decades. But how could the writers bring Ty back in a way that feels true to Heartland's heart? Let's look at a few ways this could unfold. The first, and perhaps most believable direction, is the hidden survival arc. Maybe Ty didn't die that day, maybe he was injured and rescued by someone far from the ranch. What if, in a twist of fate, he suffered memory loss, or was forced into hiding for reasons beyond his control? Heartland has never leaned on soap opera drama, but it has explored deep emotional realism. A story like this would be grounded in humanity, the pain of being away, the struggle to return, and the fear of what he might find when he does. Imagine Ty coming back quietly, standing at the edge of the property as Amy tends to the horses. No music, no words, just the sound of the wind, and Amy slowly realizing what her heart already knew. That's not fantasy. That's pure Heartland. Another direction could take a more spiritual route, the Heartland connection arc. Over the years, the show has built a strong emotional link between the land, the animals, and the people who care for them. What if Ty never truly left because his spirit became part of that land? Maybe his presence has been guiding Amy, giving her strength, helping her heal, but this season feels different. What if that spiritual bond has become something more real, something physical? Perhaps through Amy's emotional journey, the show could explore the boundary between love and the unseen. Not as a ghost story, but as a story of energy, the kind that connects people beyond time and loss. That's the beauty of Heartland. It doesn't need magic to feel magical. Then there's the silent return theory. Fans have noticed how episode 1 plants the image of a mysterious man near the ridge. What if that wasn't a one-time tease, but a gradual reintroduction? Ty could already be back, watching from a distance, unsure if he belongs. Maybe he's seen Amy and Lindy but doesn't want to disrupt their peace until he's sure they're ready. The show could build this slowly, with small glimpses and half-seen moments until the truth breaks open. When that moment comes, it wouldn't need dramatic music or tears, just the raw silence of recognition. That would be one of the most unforgettable scenes in television history. Of course, not every possibility has to bring Ty back in the flesh. Some fans believe the show might take the emotional legacy route, letting Ty live on through Lindy. We've already seen her growing into her parents' shared spirit, brave, kind, and deeply connected to the horses. Maybe the signs of Ty's return are really about Amy finally accepting that part of him will always live on through their daughter. This kind of emotional storytelling fits perfectly with Heartland's gentle realism. It wouldn't be about rewriting history, but about deepening it. Still, The signs of season 20 suggest something bigger is coming. The tone is too intentional. The clues too deliberate. The way the camera lingers on old photos. The way Jack's words echo through empty rooms. It feels like the writers are slowly leading us toward something transformative. Ty's return, in whatever form it takes, won't just be about shock value. It will be about closure. About love finding its way home, even after years apart. And think about what this would mean for Amy. Her story began with a young man riding into her life and teaching her that healing doesn't happen overnight. If he returns, whether in body, spirit, or memory, it would close that circle perfectly. She wouldn't just be the girl Ty saved all those years ago. She would be the woman who learned that love strong enough to survive death is love that never truly leaves. As for the family, their reactions would become the emotional heartbeat of the season. Jack would finally let himself believe in miracles again. Lou would cry, but this time from joy, not loss. Tim would struggle with guilt for every word he never said, before finally finding peace. And Lindy, she would just smile, as if she always knew her daddy was out there waiting, because in Heartland, the truth has always been simple. Some bonds are too strong to break. So where does this leave us? With hope, quiet, fragile but powerful hope. Maybe Ty Borden really is alive, not just in memory, but in heart, in spirit, in story. And maybe, after all these years, Heartland is finally ready to bring him home.